In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew a single welt pocket. With this technique, you're left with a clean finish on both sides of the fabric, and no raw edges because of the French seam on the pocket. You're going to need a ruler, a pen, scissors, interior fabric for the pocket. I went with a very thin cotton, and then whatever fabric you're going to make your pocket on. I'm going to start by trimming my inside pocket fabric, and I'm going to make sure the width is 2 centimeters longer than I'd like the opening of my pocket. Now, using the same fabric as the main piece, we're going to cut out a smaller rectangle. We want the width of this rectangle to be 2 centimeters longer than the width of our interior pocket piece. Now we're going to cut the length of this piece, and having it folded in half, I cut it 1.5 centimeters, so 3 centimeters in total. Now we're going to mark the pocket on our main fabric. I'm doing this with a black pen so that you can see, but I would recommend using chalk, an erasable pen, or pins. So as you can see, now we have the length of our pocket, the interior of our pocket, which is 2 centimeters longer, and then we have the welt pocket flap, which is going to be 4 centimeters longer. We're then going to take our welt piece and flip it in half lengthwise, placing right sides together. And then with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, we're going to sew on both edges. So again, placing right sides together, and you can pin it to make it a little easier, and then sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. You can then trim away the extra fabric to make it less bulky, and then you're going to flip it right side out. You can use a pin here to help poke out the corners, and then use your iron to press it flat. After sewing that piece, it should now be the same width as your interior pocket. I'm now drawing 2 lines that are going to indicate where I'm going to be sewing. I'm now going to place my pocket and my welt piece with the raw side facing down along the center line. What I'm showing here is the seam allowance that I'm just going to mark out to make it more clear. Once the seam allowance is sewn, the leftover bit that I'm showing here should cover that entire pocket opening. So again, lining my welt piece and my interior pocket up with that center line, I'm going to sew along the 2 outside lines. It's important here to find a guide on your sewing machine, whether it's on the machine itself or on your presser foot, to help use as a guide while you're sewing these lines. As you can see, you only attached one end of your pocket, and you can trim away all the excess threads now. Now I'm marking where I'm going to make a cut in my fabric. So right in the middle of the 2 lines we just sewed, and then you're going to mark a V at either end. The middle line should be 1 centimeter shorter on each end than the 2 lines that we just sewed. And now you're going to cut where you just marked. Make sure not to cut any of your seams. With those lines cut, you're going to now flip all your fabric through the hole that you just created, making sure to tuck the edges of your welt piece in as well. Also make sure to tuck in the little V's on either side. After pressing with your iron, you're ready to sew these little V's down with your sewing machine. And you're going to sew them to the welt piece, making sure to catch no other fabric. Yours should look a little cleaner because it won't have the marks from the pen. But here's what it looks like with the corners tucked in and sewed down. We're now going to do a stitch that's going to help keep the pocket in place. We're going to start by ironing our fabric, and then we're going to do a top stitch that catches this layer of fabric that I'm pointing to. We're going to make sure the stitch is very close to the edge and on the pocket fabric. Folding our pocket in half, we're going to bring it up so it just covers the welt tab on the back side of the fabric. We want to bring it up enough that when we fold it over, we can tuck it in behind. And then we want to iron that little bit that we folded over and iron where we're going to be folding the pocket in half. And then we want to push our pocket back through the hole so it's on the right side of the fabric. Then using the crease that we created, we're going to fold our pocket up and pin it at both sides. And then we're going to sew on both sides where we placed our pins, stopping at the top pin. We want to sew this stitch with a 0.5 centimeter seam allowance, so really close to the edge. And then we're going to trim away any extra fabric. And then we're going to push the pocket back through to the back side of the fabric. And then we're going to flip our pocket right side out. And then we're going to pin down and tuck in the tab that we ironed earlier, and then repin the sides of the pocket. And then we're going to sew along those 3 edges where we placed our pins. At the corners where your welt tab is, you can tuck in the pocket a little more to make for a cleaner finish. And then you're going to sew along all those 3 edges, making sure to keep a very small seam allowance. You just created a French seam on your pocket. And then you can give it 1 more iron and you're all done. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, please subscribe.